What's up, guys? MKBHD here, and welcome to Ask MKBHD number 31 for August 2018. First things first, the merch is back. So as you're probably aware by now, the merch sort of comes and goes in waves, but every time we get a new wave of things, it's announced and you guys all know when it goes on sale, and we'll link it below and everything. And every time we do this, we also tend to add a couple things. And I think this might be my favorite group of things we've added yet. So the glitch shirt, which you've seen in a previous video. There's also the matte black hoodie, which I've also worn previously. Or actually, some people got mad at me when I called it a hoodie because it's technically a windbreaker or a jacket. I think all these words are fine. It has a hood, so I called it a hoodie, but it's got a couple interesting things about it. Mine's really wrinkly right now, but it has this little logo, and it's made of 3M material where it's kind of really subtle, but when you shine a light on it or like take a flash photo, it's really reflective, so that's pretty sweet. And it's also appropriate because technically summer just ended. I think 2 days ago was the first day of autumn, so having a little windbreaker is not such a bad thing. And then one of my all-time favorites. I've shared these matte black AirPods with you guys in the past, especially on like Twitter and Instagram. Colorware, who we worked with, who generously made these, was comfortable enough with doing a batch of them, a super limited edition batch that is now also in the merch store, which is pretty sick. They're definitely not cheap. It's expensive to do these like handcrafted, painted AirPods and get them as precise as Colorware does, but they've done it, and if you're crazy enough to actually want these, well, you can get them now. And last but not least is these couple wristbands, which I think are pretty sweet. I've shown these before, and there's been people asking where they can get the bands that I've worn in videos, so that's a thing now. The link's below, like I've said. Okay, let's get into the questions. So obviously, August was a pretty incredible month for a lot of reasons. Most of the questions I think were about the Elon interview or about Elon or Tesla of some kind. I can kind of address some of the FAQs or things you might not know. But right off the top, I can say, I mean, honestly, what an amazing experience. It was a lot of fun. It was a big learning experience going into an environment like that and trying to shoot a video. Again, I highly recommend watching John's behind the scenes video where you get an idea of not just the gear we used and the sort of a process that went into making that and the rehearsal we had before, but just the chaos of actually going into a factory and trying to make a video there. I've gotten a lot of like interview requests from news companies who want to interview me about the interview, but what I've noticed, I've declined them all, but something I've noticed is a lot of their questions have a pretty similar theme to them. So aside from the like typical, how is Elon? Obviously he was super nice with us and very generous with his time that he gave us, but it was mostly a lot of questions like, why didn't you talk about X, or why didn't you do this, do X, Y, and Z? So first off, this all came from, or was born from, a Twitter conversation, which is kind of amazing. And when it was all locked down and scheduled, we had scheduled 30 minutes. That was our absolute guarantee. You'll get at least 30 minutes. May or may not be more, depending on how it goes, but plan to do everything in half an hour. Now, knowing that most of the interviews he's done or he's had to do like in the last year are these like super stiff sit-down interviews, we wanted to make this one a little more fun, so it was split into two halves, which you saw. It was a sit-down, just conversational half, and then the sort of a factory tour part. But I had to sort of self-time in my head getting all of this down in 30 minutes, because once the 30 minutes is up, it's sort of, the guarantee is over and it may end at any time. So that little notebook you saw next to me in the interview, the one on the chair that I never once reached for during the entire video, that one, that's this notebook here. That one had, that I wrote down all of my questions in it. That's the one that you saw me rehearsing with in John's video. I had written down all of my pages of questions. They were all on this. Once we got in the interview and we sit down, shook hands and started talking, and the conversation just sort of went, and I never once looked at that notebook during the talk. Now, it was useful that I kind of had most of the things I wanted to talk about memorized, and the conversation actually sort of nicely flowed between those things. It's not the same order that I wrote down, but it was cool that we just talked about Tesla and tech for a while. But there were a couple things in here that I wanted to ask that I didn't, for sure. So yeah, for everyone wondering why I didn't ask Elon what phone he carries, that's because I didn't get to it. Although I'm pretty sure you can tell it's an iPhone. It's definitely an iPhone. So anyway, yes, I definitely, again, recommend you watch the BTS video. And now on to the Twitter questions. So will you use the Pixel 3 as a main driver if it has that notch? So I don't know if you've been living under a rock or just not paying attention to any tech news, but the Pixel 3 XL specifically over the last like 3 weeks has been leaked into oblivion. I think there's actually a full review of the phone out already, and it's still 2 months away from being officially announced. Like legit for real this time, Google could probably just have someone walk on stage at the event and just go, yep, that was it, and walk off stage and just a price shows up. That would just be it. But of course, naturally, what a lot of people are focusing on is that gigantic notch up at the top. First of all, yes, I'm gonna test and use the Pixel 3 and the 3 XL. I am not a fan of the just massive notch it seems to have, but I'm still interested in that phone because of the camera. It's gonna have a better camera and possibly an interesting, better front-facing camera or camera pair than the current Pixel 2, so I'll be interested in that. It looks like it's keeping the front-facing speakers as well, but it is a just ridiculously ugly, horrible-looking notch, if the leaks are true, which they probably are. Did you see this Pocophone F1? What are your impressions about the super aggressive pricing? I've read most of the information about this Xiaomi Poco F1. See what they did there? Poco F1 and then F phone. Same thing Essential did. You guys have seen that already. But I've seen most of this stuff about this phone on my timeline. It's apparently an extremely inexpensive phone. Snapdragon 845, 6 gigs of RAM, top-notch specs, under 300 bucks. Not coming to the US. I think it's India only for now. But bottom line, yes, I am interested in it. I hope to actually probably get my hands on it soon, depending on how fast that availability happens. But it's kind of getting appeal the same way OnePlus originally got my attention, which was a lot of bang for the buck, bringing the highest end specs you can get into the lowest imaginable price. That's like why most people are paying attention to the Poco phone, which, by the way, not a good name. You should have just called it the Xiaomi F1. Separate video on the flamethrower. I don't know. I don't know if it's worth. It's kind of a. Is it worth a separate video? It's just a small little. It's a prop essentially. It ends up looking pretty cool on camera relative to most other flamethrowers, and I don't know. I guess I could see it being worth maybe a short Twitter video or something like that. I don't know. It's kind of needs a propane tank, and it's a prop right now. Oh, someone asked if this Poco F1 is a OnePlus killer. Again, if it's only one market right now, which is just India, then I can't say it's a OnePlus killer because OnePlus is in a bunch of places and may even be coming to carriers with the next version, which is a big deal in the US. That's how you get in people's pockets. But yeah, it's, again, a lot of parallels with OnePlus. I agree with that. Have you ever cleaned your red sensor? No, but that does kind of remind me of a funny story. So I travel a lot with camera gear, as you probably already know. And it's always in like the same couple of think tank bags. It's the one that's the exact size of the domestic overhead bin. It fits perfectly every time. We have this layout that we go through. I'm used to traveling with camera stuff. So what I'm also used to is going through TSA, and when I have that bag which has all the batteries in it and the camera body and the carbon fiber, they always see that and pull it to the side and open it up and swab it. It's like 90% of the time. But I'm flying through these big airports like Newark and San Francisco and LA, and usually they just pull it to the side, swab it, doesn't come up with anything, close it, give it back to you, you're good. That's fine. But a couple weeks ago or months ago, we were on a shoot where we flew into a smaller, I think it's San Jose or somewhere in there, a smaller airport. And so we were one of the first flights out of there at like 7 in the morning. There is no one else in the TSA line, no one else in the security line, just the crew and the camera bags, and they're gonna check them. They got nothing else to do at 6:30 in the morning at the airport. If these things go through the x-ray and they look a little bit weird, they're gonna swab them and they're gonna check them. But these guys, not only did they swab, the inside of the bag, they took out all of my lenses, all the lenses in the bag, took the top of the lens off, took the body cap of the lens off, and swabbed the glass on both ends and looked through it to make sure it was glass. So that's like 5 or 6 lenses right there. Then they get to the camera, and I'm okay with all of this up to this point. Like, I get it. You're doing your job. This is what you're supposed to do. But they get to the camera, the red Monstro, and they're like, yeah, we're going to have to swab the inside of this. And I'm like, okay, wait a second. No. They wanted to open up the body cap and make sure it's a sensor and swab the inside of it. And I drew the line there, but they did do their job and check the rest of our gear. And eventually we made it through that airport. But yeah, that's funny that they wanted, I don't know if they knew what they were doing. Whatever, they kept us safe. The flight was safe. Everything was safe. What question did you forget or regret not asking Elon? Aside from the forgetting like that last part about what phone do you carry, the one regret I have is a question which was, how did you find these videos? How does someone as busy as Elon, who probably has better things to do than watch YouTube videos, end up watching tech videos at all, land on the channel, decide that he's cool enough with it to be on it? How does that happen? Do I have the YouTube algorithm to thank for that, or the trending page, or just maybe he just looked for some phone reviews one day? Who knows? Would Joey buy a Rimac? I would drive a Rimac, but that's also like $1 million car, so I'm not gonna buy one. How are you liking your new kicks? Okay, so for those who were wondering or think that was my kicks of the day choice, it wasn't. To go into that factory, you need steel-toed boots, and so Tesla provided steel-toed boots for the whole team. We weren't all rocking the nursing home 2.0s or anything crazy like that. That was a safety feature, safety first. How much footage do you generally shoot for one video? The answer would vary a lot between different video types, like a review, way more. Typically a couple hundred gigs, closer to a terabyte. But this video, it's just a lot of talking to the camera, one shot, so I'll try to put the amount of footage this video took up right here. There you go. If you could shoot either ARRI 2997 or RED 2398 for a year, which do you choose? How dare you, John? It's actually, you know what, it's not actually that bad. I think I would just shoot ARRI 2997. That's just me. I know you guys know I love RED, but I also love 30 frames a second, and I could shoot ARRI. I could learn to shoot ARRI for a year. It's only a year. If you told me like a lifetime, I might have other thoughts about resolution and things like that, but for a year, I'll shoot ARRI. That's fine. What is the biggest misconception for you as a successful content creator? That's easy. It's the amount of work that people think it takes to make what we make. Even at a totally different topic level or anything else, like people watch a 5-minute YouTube video and they assume it took 5, 10, 15 minutes to make. Even if people watch, I'd be curious what you would think if you watch a 7-minute, really well done review of something, how long you think the process from inception to completion took. And I think 99% of people would guess way not enough time. Videos that we make in tech have a writing process, a research process, like this sort of a summary process to turn it into a video form. Oftentimes there's storyboarding and shot listing and shot planning, and then you go into the actual shooting and production phase. Then there's all the editing and the post-production and everything that goes with publishing it and distributing it. There's a lot. It's not like a 7-minute video takes an hour. And I have said it before, a creative's greatest trick is making it look easy, but that still stands today. The biggest misconception people have about YouTubers, period, is how much work they think goes into it. But hey, that's where I'm gonna end it. Thank you guys for all your questions on Twitter and for watching this video, for Ask MKBHD in general to live on. Hopefully the next one's even more exciting, but definitely stay tuned in the next couple weeks for some of the most exciting videos of the year on this channel. Given what we just had, that should mean a little something. Thanks for watching. Talk to you guys in the next one. Peace.